Okay, you can call it to order.
Okay, so we'll call the meeting to order. We'll start with the reading and the approval of the minutes for our March 2022, March 17th, 22 meeting.
I'll make a motion.
Brian?
I'll
Second,
second.
Maggie?
all those in favor?
Aye.
On
I'll make a
to-
motion on item 2. I'll make a motion on the check detail as presented.
Need a
Second.
second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I will make a motion to accept the cash flow statement as presented for March.
Need a second?
Motion then, second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
So distributed earlier this, well, maybe last week, was a draft acquisition policy. I did update a couple things. The final is in your packet.
And this was circulated because it's something that
It's
we
required,
needed.
yeah,
It's
by the
required.
ADA.
Yep, okay. I did review. I'll make a motion to accept the policy as presented.
Okay, can I get a second on that? If anybody doesn't have any questions, can I get a second?
I'll
Second.
second it.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so I will launch into project updates.
Can I just ask a
Go
couple
ahead.
quick questions?
Yes.
The COVID fund payments, so they went to the IDA was allocated some of those funds, or?
You can, okay. Yes, the
The county
county,
was,
County money, the ARPA, or whatever they call it, money funds.
right, so it'll,
Pass them through us.
they're gonna pass it? Okay, and then the idea behind that is they're gonna be used to,
There's a specific, the Carroll Water Project, Carroll Sewer Water Extension Project.
okay.
Yeah.
So they're extending water and sewer up in Carroll out to reach a couple of parcels along 23 that are suitable for development. So sort of a kind of a half shovel ready. But this is on the public infrastructure side of it. So the county got the money, it was an eligible expense, and the county in itself cannot, so the county in itself doesn't have the authority to do the infrastructure and turn it over to the towns where the IDA can.
Oh, I see.
Plus, we're the only ones that have actually built the infrastructure, so.
sure. At the other two business parks, we've already done this, so.
Okay, all right. And then the other question I had, I mean, neither one of these are, they're more for my information than anything else. I just noticed the insurance number, is that like a quarterly number?
So I'll send you back out the budget review that we adopted back in October, and it does divide out, there's 25% out of our operating and 75%. So it's D&O insurance and then land coverage. So we split it up between the two, but it's all described in that budget memo. So I'll be sure to email you that.
Yeah, it
again.
just seemed like well, I don't know, relatively big, maybe not, just, I'm not sure if we're insuring we're insuring all the property that.
Right, all
right.
Which is a big number.
Yeah.
Okay.
Plus, we have an umbrella,
Yep.
and then, and that's not all the insurance, because then there's a directors and officers policy too, the D&O policy, that's on top of it, that's separate.
Separate from that, okay.
So one of your questions kind of rolls right into our first project, update the Carroll Water project. In your packet, there's a new schedule of actions and the map that describes that project. We are meeting with Delaware Engineering today to kind of kick off our design and planning discussion. So, and unless you have any specific questions, I'll just whip through these. Any,
If I'm looking at this Delaware Engineering schedule, they don't think that the bid is going to be awarded until the end of this year?
Yeah, they haven't done anything, there's been no survey.
Wow.
done. There's no survey done, no design
Wow.
done. So it will take them this whole summer to survey design. The only
Okay.
good news on it is it looks like the whole project can be done without requiring any private easements or right of ways.
That's
So it
good.
looks like everything can be done in the public right of way, and that, it's a pain in the neck working with DOT, but it's a lot easier than working with a bunch of landowners.
So it's almost going to be it'll be a year to get to the bid and then almost 10 months of work with no interruption or no other,
Correct.
no unforeseen things. Wow. Okay.
So what will the ultimate result of this be? Will it help residential development or?
No,
commercial
industrial,
development?
commercial, industrial.
Okay,
If you look at the parcel thing on the back,
yeah.
so April, you want to explain where the line is going to go? And do you know where this is in Caro? So if you see
So-
Route 23,
Yeah, right, there's like the
McDonald's,
McDonald's,
so, yeah.
McDonald's there, yeah.
Right. okay.
And
And
then, yep, go ahead.
go ahead.
Well, no, so McDonald's is that little
Yeah.
white building on the corner,
Yeah,
the curb cut that the the owner is working on is right across. So we're bringing water up from, I don't know what that
Broad
street,
Street?
well, is it Broad Street that crosses over from the
It'll
library?
be down by 23, down to the Cumberland Farms area. So there's a connection.
I'll email you this so you can see it bigger too.
That's, I think that's an existing water line, those lines. Oh, that was economic development.
Right, so the blue and the green across the street, we'll be extending it from there.
They're down near the Cumberland Farms in the corner where 32 and 23 come together. They're in that general area there.
And to further on your question, so we don't do water improvements for residential purposes.
Okay.
Right, our mission as an IDA is
So-
narrowly defined. But this project was brought to us by the county in part, keeping in mind that over the course of the last year, there have been several potential interested parties in some commercial development. Some in the energy space, so the conversation with the county and then with the IDA are those parcels, is there something that could make that as a more attractive, consistent with the kind of commercial development that the town and the county are looking to attract? And the infrastructure part of it was one part of doing that. The county, as you know, is funding that. We are, as we were describing earlier, we're kind of like the subrecipient, not even a pass through. Because we're going to be managing, as you can see in this Delaware engineering, scope of work. We're doing the bid, et cetera. But the goal is to kind of get that parcel ready. As most attractive as it can be for the kinds of development where people have been nosing around.
yeah.
And to see if we can't land something in other than Cooksaki.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you in terms of like folks that have looked at my building, the biggest issue is that there's
No
no
water
water and sewer for it, in the food industry
Yeah.
in particular. Yeah.
All the way across the board. It's
Yeah.
our biggest problem here, we can tell you that.
Oh, God, if you guys do that. The plumbing fixed. I'm sorry.
Okay, was there any other Carroll water questions? Okay, so we'll move on to Champlain Hudson Power Express. We were reviewing documents that came back from their legal team. Paul is working on those now. I don't know if we have any other updates, but
Was
they
there
were
anything that you
approved.
saw in there, in what they submitted back that was?
Yeah, so we're kicking it back to them on some things.
April and I haven't seen the markups back.
I have them. There's 40 documents that they sent. Paul's reviewed them in detail, advised us on a couple things.
Oh, there's Paul.
Hi, Paul.
Yeah, hi, how are you? Hello?
Good morning, Paul.
Hi, we can hear you.
Okay, good. Yeah, they sent back and the documents are heavily marked up. There's a couple of threshold issues, which April and Renee and I had a conversation about, because, you just put yourself in their perspective. They're constructing something from the Canadian border all the way down to Rockland County. And, they got a lot of parties to get in line, but they do have like a provision where it's held in escrow. And I know that's not acceptable to us. So we have to kind of get through some threshold issues, such as when do we get the IDA fee and when is this going to be real? So I reached out to their lawyer, whom I know, he's from Syracuse area, and we're going to have a call hopefully tomorrow, at least to kind of get those things moving along. I know they've closed with the attorney with the Warren Washington IDA, but I don't know where they are with everything else. I think it's a fairly challenging undertaking with all those different counties to put together, as well as just the geographical items. So we've got to kind of get a better handle on that. Is what and they've got to know kind of where we're coming from. So they're going to hear the I guess the way the way it is, at least from my perspective, when we have that conversation.
Right, and as I told Paul yesterday, what we had negotiated with them was that on the IDA transaction fee, which is like $1.7 million, that we would take it in 2 tranches, and but there had to be 50% of it paid at closing and the other 50% at close on financing for the project. They'd like to do at the close or commercial operation. There are some mitigation funds in there for economic development. And in that case, it's a $2 million fund, and that was $1 million at close of finance and $1 million at commercial operation. But the IDA fee, at least half of 50% had to come up front at the time of closing with us. So Paul knows what he's got to get them on the line with that.
I'm sorry, I missed what this is in reference to.
Champlain Hudson Power Express.
Okay, CHPD, okay.
The power line. And they have a ways to go yet. As Paul noted, they've got a lot of parties involved, and if anybody's been paying attention to our surrounding counties and others, there's still
Issues.
on things.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So Flint Mine Solar, we had a Zoom call with them yesterday. We're still working on getting the valuation state model. I've put together the parcel listing of the vacant current land. So I'll be able to do at least those numbers probably this week for pilot, vacant, and then I'm waiting just on the model, the state model. And then we'll be able to wrap up the finding statement. After that, we'll present it probably at the May board meeting or June, maybe?
I'm willing in June at this point.
June board meeting.
Because Greene said he was still going to be 3 weeks out to give you the number once they got him the number. They needed.
Right, 3 weeks, sure. Okay. And then we need to do one more one more public meeting for them.
Yes, we'll have to be, once the finding statement's out, there'll have to be a public hearing on it.
Okay.
And they're working with us on some information that we've requested in regards to the request from Sleepy Hollow Lake. You know, April's made you aware, we've had a lot of letters, a lot of emails, canned emails. There's some information out there that's critical to be in the consideration. So let me get that packaged, and then the board can look at the language in it as to our response to that, and we decide to move forward. But we became aware of us yesterday, there was some other information here that we don't have right now that we're working on getting from Sleepy Hollow.
Yep. Okay. Moving on to Athens Generating. So Athens Generating presented to the taxing jurisdictions on March 30th. Athens Generating has hired an appraiser, and they're going to share those numbers with us, hopefully today or tomorrow, just to review what the appraisal numbers are coming in at. And then I also gave the town, county, and school John Zukowski's contact information. John Zukowski's firm is the one that's helping us with our solar valuation. They also do power plants. And I know Mike Peroni has talked to John already about reviewing the appraisal numbers that come in or doing their own appraisal. So we are now at the wait, and let's see what happens with the assessment. And then if anybody comes to us requesting a pilot, but we are sitting tight. Any questions on Athens Gen?
I think we better just recognize someone's going to come to us and look for a pilot. I mean,
That's fine.
I think it's, it's a chance for us to get fees and other revenue, but I think it's going to happen because I don't think they have their act together. I mean, they don't, and then I think the county doesn't. That's kind of my view.
Well, where do you
Athens-
think the request is going to come from?
Definitely the company because,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and the county should also be involved with it because, it gives them, they don't have to guarantee the school the payments. I mean,
All the key players are geared up, ready. We're just waiting on the appraisal numbers to come in to have that jump off discussion point.
And I think all the parties are cognizant of the fact that there'll be, most likely will be a conversation about a pilot. Our position, at least when I left and what you guys have stuck with, is that you guys all need to get your act together, figure it out, and come and ask us this time instead of it being that we do it and then we get yelled, then we get blamed for 20 years.
Right.
So, but I would expect that.
Right. At the meeting, the company did say that they would like to discuss a future pilot for consistency. knowing what their bills are going to be for the next 10, 20 years.
Wouldn't we all?
Yeah.
Well, the school
That's-
district, Lisa Janek, I can never get her last name.
Gillette, Lisa Gillette.
She's favorable. She's the first one that said we should do a pilot again, because she gets it, that certainty is more important than trying to squeeze every.
Predictability is huge.
Okay. I will keep you updated as the data comes in. Regarding our parks, we're waiting on a deed from the county. So the agreements have been signed. We have a potential hotel developer meeting today. So I'll let you know how that goes. And then we've asked Hilco to update an appraisal. Hilco did an appraisal on the Quality Inn and then the vacant land. And now since we're adding in that parcel, we're asking them to update it. So this, I will need a motion to approve the Hilco appraisal.
What parcel were we referring to adding?
Well, so what we did is we took possession of Quality Inn, as you know, and at the time we did, and we were talking with another hotel developer, we had Hilco do an evaluation on what the value was of the entire 4 point something, five, it was actually 5 point something, because we at the time anticipated buying like 0.4 from the thruway.
Right.
We ended up buying more. And then we also asked them to value a hypothetical 2-acre subdivided lot out of that with the assumptions of water, sewer, blah, blah, blah. So now that, first of all, this appraisal is 2019,
Yep.
correct? It's obviously dated. But now we're in a situation where we have stewards coming to the table, we have the throughway land coming very shortly, and then we're talking to this other hotel developer. So I'm gonna help April finish up today the request. Initially, we'd asked them to just do a 4, to basically do the same thing. What's the whole thing worth and what's a 4-acre parcel worth? But now I'm gonna switch it up, which means the cost may go up a little bit, and have them do one for the Stewart's lot, what's the Stewart's lot's worth, what's the other lot worth, and what's the aggregate of the lots worth.
And the 4 acres is our approximate target acreage on that
Well,
whole.
that's what the hotel has told us.
They would like,
Today,
yeah.
They like that, but they normally need about 2 acres, but they wanted their room for truck parking.
Right.
That's what they indicated to April too.
Trucks in the back.
And this goes to starting point for the negotiation.
Well, it helps with negotiation, but it's also part of the ABO requirements for our disposal policy is to have the appraisal on hand, so. We just need.
We need a motion to, if anybody doesn't have any further questions, to update that appraisal.
I'll make the motion.
Keith and Brian, thank you.
I need a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So I run a lot of the stuff that I've now, especially the weather's breaking and everybody's getting ready, that I'm focused on is helping people finish up this legacy stuff of the properties. So on the Quality Insight, the other thing, we met with Al McDonald from Santos yesterday to get him going on, we've started to revise some maps, throw in, Stewart's gave us a site plan, I need them thrown in, I need you to throw a quick road, and just so we can start playing with that. We won't probably take any immediate action until we get a little bit closer on long story short, we think we're probably not gonna have to do subdivisions. We can just do, boundary line adjustments on everything on that. And then, so anyway, so Stewart's is still queued up, the hotel developer is good. On the opposite side, we met with Santos, and what we have him doing is getting ready to get us, we have to subdivide out that parcel for the garage, which is looking more and more favorable that we'll have a sale on that, but regardless, we need to create that. But we really need to, we're doing cleanup stuff. We got the pump station that basically on a handshake, the town's got it on our property, and the line, there's no easements done, so we're just now working to clean all that up, get the easements, get the overlays, get the restricted areas, create a lot where that driveway goes into that pump station that will be dedicated to the town for a road stub. And so, and again, we're gonna do that all with boundary line
Right.
adjustments.
So he jumped a little bit. He's talking about across the street. So this one, Al McDonald's doing the survey for the old Quality Insight. And then he's also looking at across the street to update our surveys and the lines. So I don't know if you're familiar with the garage that sits on the corner across from Camptown.
It's the old, right across the old
It's like a
side
white,
restaurant.
Looks like an old gas station.
The power equipment.
we have a
It's been
farmer's
empty for a
market.
long time,
Yeah.
yeah. It's, if you're heading to Leeds, it's on the left-hand side, opposite the old log cider or whatever. that
So we
used to
took
be.
down all the houses on that strip, but we left the garage for potential development. And we do have an interested party. They are working on soil borings now. So,
So we've already got him moving on, definitely getting the map set on that, but, and then going to the planning board for us down there, but that, again, that'll be a boundary line adjustment, no public hearing required or nothing. And then we were gonna combine the lots, but then actually Al made a good point to me that if we leave those other small lots as they are, we can actually do the rest of this lot for the hospital, we do a lot for everybody else, all boundary line adjustments versus subdivisions.
Right.
So instead of combining, we should take advantage of having those multiple subdivisions already.
Yeah, so instead of the houses and then there's the 60 acres in the back, we're leaving the lines for now.
So if, boundary line adjustments, how does that impact the ownership? Like if you subdivide, then it's clear who owns the
Well,
property.
first of all, right now, we own all of it.
Right, so are you
So-
gonna lease it with that?
No, we just do, no, so we create new lots all the time. So in our case in Catskill, we bought an aggregate of 8 lots. So that land base that you look at is 8 lots. 6 of them are like half acres little together.
Right,
So in this case, we're creating some new lots, but instead of it's not a subdivision because we're taking this little lot, moving the line 10 feet this way. This line from this lot, we're moving it way out here. So, and once those lots are done, then they are the new set meets and bounds described lots.
okay, so you're taking little lots, making them into big.
Right, so there'll probably
lots.
be new lot numbers for the map. I've spent the
Okay.
last 3 years in Sleepy Hollow doing this with the planning board. As
Right.
people bought lots, they created, they
Yeah.
did internal lot line adjustments, the externals didn't change.
Right,
A subdivision, though, would be different if we were creating those lots and you'd have to go to the town board, selling them from a commercial
Right.
point of view with all sorts of other things. We're
Yeah.
just rejiggering whatever is within the big boundary
got
that
it,
we already own.
yeah, okay,
And we do this routinely. We always go to the planning board, so it's a
Yep.
courtesy.
Yeah.
And as you should, because somebody should be making sure there's not being a non-conforming lot created.
Right.
Which you can do, obviously.
And the
Very
easements that
easily.
you're talking about and all
Right.
sorts of other things that show up.
But the nice thing is it doesn't require a public hearing, and really in Catskill, it doesn't even require a formal planning board approval for a lot line. Kasaki does. They're used to, it's interesting because the IDA has done this so many times, they're used to like a lot line adjustment. It's Keith's garage is like 2 feet on my property line, so me and Keith work it out to the line 5 feet.
right,
We've done boundary line adjustments that like, well, we're taking 180 acres out of this piece and then
Right.
this piece. And as long as, at the end of the day, there's 8 lots, when the dust clears, there's 8 lots. You haven't done a subdivision.
I see,
Yeah.
yeah,
Just
okay,
new lines. Just new
Yep.
lines.
got it.
We've also had numerous calls with the county and Columbia Memorial Hospital on next steps. I think we've expressed it as like round robin. So we're waiting for the county to commit to the natural gas, which they have. They have the ARPA funds. They passed the resolution. They are getting ready to sign a contract with CPL to do their engineering and design. And it's my understanding that Columbia Memorial Hospital will also be hiring the same engineer so they can maybe share some costs.
Yeah, CPR
But-
already is the.
Yeah. So we're waiting. The IDA is playing the sit tight and waiting game for them to figure out their paths and for the Columbia Memorial Hospital to pull the trigger. But they still have an option with us. So
How long does the option go for?
another two months, but I can pull it out. Yeah, they had extended the first option. So they paid the second fee and we're in the second option right now, but I can pull it out.
And
Have they,
It's the
and
6-month
have
option.
they started a certificate of need process?
I'm not sure if they have yet, Maggie. They're pretty comfortable on that end. I mean, we talked about it.
Yeah, but that's a long
Talked about
process. That's
Yeah, it's a
not, that's not
process.
a,
I almost want to tell you they probably have, because they really have advanced quite a bit on their side, whether they've finalized it all or not, I'm not certain. But Jay, we've talked about it. Jay's knows what he's got to do, and he's very confident that they were not going to have a problem getting the certificate.
Maybe that's something we can inquire a little bit about.
I'll ask.
Some of this stuff is just cumbersome, just takes time.
right, but it could be, they could be a year and a half to get that through the Department of Health. Which means the waiting game and the option,
Yeah, we can have
and- right.
Like I said, I to some extent, what we do is not micromanage sometimes on their end what they're doing. I have to assume that the CEO of the hospitals kind of knows. Our biggest problem right now, really, and how many meetings have we done now, and it's been the same thing. The hospital is waiting,
Keep saying.
it's around the
Circle,
hospital,
yeah.
we're waiting for the county to make a commitment on the natural gas, and then the county's saying, well, we're waiting for the hospital to make a commitment that they're gonna buy the land forward. And this has been like 3 meetings in a row, and I think as of last time, we maybe have that straightened out and.
Well, Warren was here yesterday. We did kind of push him.
Well, we pointed out to him, if you remember, the county in the deal here, we had no idea about doing a mental health center for the county. They're the ones that came with the ask, okay? And then I sent Warren with a message to Sean saying, the hospital's already spent 400,000. IDA has spent 3.5. Greene County has spent goose eggs. And to move this process forward, what's gonna fit and how they're gonna fit, it's your turn to table with some money on that.
How much money did I refresh my memory? How much money they talk and how much did they allocate?
About $1.5 million for the gas line. And don't forget, we already put 800,000 into that earlier when they did the Jefferson Heights project. We
Right.
upgraded that line then.
Yeah.
So they're about $1.5 million, because I'm gonna tell you, there's a lot of directional boring through rock up there. which is gonna add
And they're at Marshall and Sterling now?
No, they're over there by where, what you call this building burned down. Where another body shop, yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, they're right there,
Hooters?
Yeah, they're right over there, right there somewhere.
Okay.
Actually, it terminates where that little street goes back in there.
Yeah.
It goes and dead ends up against 3-3. It's
Yeah.
dead ends there.
Gotcha.
To do, I think their agreement with the engineers is for about, this is 100 and some thousand, but it's also broken down in increments. And it's like, if you get down to step 2 and you don't want to move forward, then you don't spend the rest of the money, but you got to spend some money here to get this off the dime. So I think the message went back. We'll see what happens.
Well, you think somebody could come up with a contingency clause that says, yes, we're in as long as you do this.
It's a moving target. There'll be a request for free land, and then recently there's a request of whether we would help build a road into free land. And
We're still working on the pro forma and how many acres are buildable. So at the end of the day, we'll figure out how much it is per acre and then work with the county from there.
Is this a residential facility or an office?
Mental health, it's going to replace their building in Caro.
Okay, so it's
So then
offices.
there's- Yeah.
Yeah, okay, outpatient offices.
And same with the hospital. Hospital would be all like New York Oncology, Hematology would be a big part of it.
Oh, okay.
Specialists would come down, like a podiatrist may come down 2 days a week from Albany Med, or, these kind of specialists.
Yeah, so it'd be great for the county.
Well, that's what our.
I think it would be great for, you mean residents of the county?
Yeah, yeah,
Yes, yes.
human beings.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, human
Over the
beings.
years, the county's been trying to do more and more mental health wise.
Yeah.
And they made some pretty good strides over the years, but there's a lot of room to improve.
Yeah.
I think that's it on that side right now. We'll get the surveys done, get things moving, just little stuff. At the time, if you remember, they were gonna run, you don't know the property, and I'll show you a map here, we will next time. They were gonna run the sewer line up behind that garage and all the little houses, so they're gonna run the sewer line literally right through the middle of the landmass that we bought. So at the 11th hour, I got them to relocate the sewer force main out to the road and up along the edge of the road. But at the time we did it, we know that if this is our property line here, we know that the line kind of goes along and maybe in and kind of out and kind of. So we're gonna have Al clean all that up too. We're bringing the Delaware as-built in, and if our line needs to, move to just a foot this way to get all of that sewer line in the public right away and out of the private parcels. I know it's not no more than 3 or 4 feet, because I was there when we did it and laid it out.
I requested those from Mary Beth last night, so.
So that's the other thing we're working on.
The only other thing is hiring our consultant to do a draft agreement between Ken Kearney on housing. We're not exactly sure how that partnership might work, but that would be for the land up behind the mental health facility. Possibility. Okay. Any other questions on the parks? Okay. Under new and miscellaneous, the wigwam, which is part of our Ferguson mitigation, we did get feedback from the Army Corps of Engineers, and then SHPO chimed in that our MOA, our original MOA on the permitting expired in 2016, and we did satisfy the whereas is in that permit, but we can't amend an expired MOA. So instead of doing an amendment to build the wigwam and donate money to the Stockbridge Muncie tribe, we are writing a new MOA. So I'm working with Ed Curtin on that right now. I'm not sure how long that would take to get signed and agreed upon. So I'm not sure if we're going to build the wigwam this summer or maybe next spring. But it is still part of our plan. And I am pushing it through. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Sometimes you're better off just violating your permit because they
No.
actually get action.
We're
Just
getting-
build the wigwam.
I know when you're trying to like
Build it.
deliver everything to the letter of the law, to the T, it's like.
We'll get it done. I'm working with Ed. We're gonna say that we have satisfied the original understanding or agreement, and then now this will be a new one, just focused on the one area that we have to cap. Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, for Donna's benefit, and for maybe with Keith and everybody else's refreshment. At the time we did Ferguson,
It's been a while.
at the 11th hour, there was discovered there were some areas where there were some misses on the archaeology, because we'd actually picked up some old work and tried to. Anyway, we picked it, we disclosed that we did. They did, the tribe was great. They let us move the project forward with the understanding while we were doing this work, we would look at that area closer. We need it if Ferguson expands to put soil, like the big berm they built next to Frank's house there. So when we built that berm, there was an archaeology sites under that, and I got them to agree, instead of us spending $80,000 to recover them, we put down snow fence and then piled the dirt over it, so if anybody ever, I don't know who's gonna dig 90,000 yards to get back down there, but if you ever did, there's restricted covenants in the deeds on those, deeds. So, yeah, so anyway, and that's why we're doing the wigwam project, because if we did the archaeology recovery in that area, it's like 80, well, probably now it'd be like 90 or
Yeah,
95,000. And we agreed that we would do 50,000 as an alternative mitigation. So we're doing 10,000 to the tribe, and then 40,000 to do a replica wigwam with interpretive panels at the Bronx House.
Okay,
Okay, our feelings for years have been, this archaeology is crazy. We spend tons of money, all these little chips go in a box in the basement, nobody learns anything from them.
right.
So we've been trying to do more
Tools.
educational stuff.
They're
and,
tools.
dirt chips. Anyway, so that's just,
We've recovered a
that's why we're
couple
still involved,
arrowheads.
because we still had a commitment to get them that berm area for phase 2. So it was sort of, it was all worked out in the MOU, it was all worked out exactly that we do it, but because the MOU expired, and I guess I'll have to take the hit on that, but
It was all the way back in 2016 that we satisfied that, and we've been trying to get the MOA, but I might have got a political person involved in trying to get the Army Corps to actually look at our the amendment. So the amendment had been with the Army Corps for over a year, and then we got the feedback that, hey, it expired, we can't do it.
Why is the Army Corps involved?
They have to be. They have
Yeah,
to
well,
approve the.
Well, the way this all starts out is there wouldn't be an MOU in the first place if it wasn't the fact that there has to be a permit, and there had to be a wetland permit, and as a result of the wetland
I see.
permit, you have to do what they call section 106, which is code for resource study, like you see everybody do the flags in the field type thing.
Yeah,
And then if you do find artifacts and you're going to either recover them or protect them or whatever, then you have to, part of that permit is an MOU. The tribe, the SHPO, Army Corps, and the IDA sign it. We're signatories to that. And again, it's a routine process. We're probably 20 of them in the file that we've done over time.
We're a
This-
hotspot. We're a hotspot for artifacts in Coxsackie and wherever we dig. So, and we have recovered many boxes, which are at the Bronx Museum right now. So, and some of them have been donated back to the tribe. But how many, boxes of shards and broken pieces of pottery? Like if they found a whole pot, that'd be kind of cool.
Just again, the last thing I'll say for your benefit is, I've been doing this permitting for 36 years. We're always waiting for the tribe to get back with us. Every time I'm waiting on a court permit, it's always the tribe hasn't responded. So like in 2009 or 10, we actually went to Wisconsin to the reservation, sat down with them. And we have a great reputation. We have a great relationship with them now. In fact, the tribe actually writes emails to the Army Corps pushing them to get it done. So instead of me having the Corps pushing the tribe's out pushing the Corps. And they like us because we've done sincere stuff. We're not trying to hide from this stuff. Let's just do it without bankrupting everybody. clock for 20 years, so.
That's my wigwam update. So I presented to the legislature on Monday. I have gotten feedback that it went well. They're all updated on our pilots and projects. Two things that I got feedback, and I've been emailing legislators. One would like us to only do industrial 24/7, push that. And then the other legislator would like us to focus on small businesses.
April, what do they mean by industrial 24? What does that mean?
Industrial, so no, don't work on hotels, don't work on small businesses, steer clear of energy. But I did send him our project evaluation criteria, so he understands what the IDA can do. So we are prohibited from doing retail, which a lot of small businesses are retail. So I've explained to both of them what the IDA can and can't do, and why we focus on what we do. So the criteria does list out, there's like 18 different things that we can focus on. It's not all inclusive, but he would like us to focus on just jobs.
Well, isn't there an issue in Greene County with housing? So that
Correct. So
we create jobs, we need
housing. So we need to focus on like a bigger
and you need a
package.
workforce.
Yes, well,
Workforce.
yeah, we don't have a workforce, and part of that would be housing, and then.
Right. So one of the key data that I presented was the 9 current pilots that are active have produced over 790 jobs last year. Renee instituted a thing where I track charity contributions, indirect spending. I'm trying to think of other key data, the investment, what the investment
Yeah, quite frankly.
assessment
from a lot of
increase.
perspectives, The IDA's probably done more for small business already by bringing big businesses in.
Sure.
Than we have.
Right.
I mean,
That would have been a good
I know
thing, a
people,
spinoff.
Zeph's floor covering, Zeph, right? Zeph's already replaced the carpets up at Ferguson or at Empire, so.
Right, the local plowing, food.
Vote, yeah.
Thing, every time the legislature's involved,
Yeah, no,
there's always somebody who's interested in that, sort of,
Right.
what's the support for?
I would love to bring in more industry, but then, yeah, you're right. Where are they going to pull their employees from? So currently, I want to say 5 out of 9 are in a hiring frenzy. They're trying to increase their numbers, but they're offering bonuses and their numbers are still falling a little bit short.
So one of the reasons it came up too is that when we do these incentives, we're required to come up with material factors. What are you doing for us? What are you going to meet?
Mhm.
And traditionally, it was always employment. You're going to have X number of employees. Well, we started, as Maggie pointed out, the workforce sucks. All the people want to hire, but yet they're reporting to us that they're basically in violation of the material terms, even though they're trying.
Right.
So we have not put employment in as a material factor for quite some time now. We've noted it when it should be in there, and they plan on hiring, but the material factors they've had to meet have been more like either increase in general tax revenues or investment in the community or increase the tax base, things that we know they can do and meet and not put them in penalty or subject to potential clawback. So, and I think that got pointed out, well, why aren't you doing more job focus? Well, we are trying to hire jobs. We're just trying not to make that your sign on the line requirement.
I mean, as a former.
April, what was the other question they asked?
Why
about
can't we
small
work
business.
with, why can't we work with more small businesses?
Okay, got it.
One of my responses included that we are a staff of 1, and that economic development and the EDC assists small businesses. So we can all partner up and make sure that the companies are going to the right department. But it's not cost prohibitive, or it is cost prohibitive for small businesses to apply for benefits.
There's help relative to scale of the operation, and we're
Right.
not on the smaller scale.
And many of the small businesses are not aligned with what our mission is. I mean, that's
Right.
at the bottom line. We have a statutory mission where a lot of the small business services and grants are not as constrained as we are. And some of the businesses that we have out are small. They're small in terms of employment and overall. I mean, even when you look at the employment now at like Athens Gen,
Right.
and what's that, nobody would ever put them there. But I thought the other interesting observation is that industrial all the time, but not energy.
Yeah, that seems a little,
It seems a little incongruent, but understanding what industrial is in a world in which people are moving toward different climate change goals, towards all sorts of things. I mean, the thing that I would stay up at night is like, how are some of these businesses going to survive?
right, energy's moving to the top of our pile of what's in front of us.
Right.
He saw it in our project evaluation that we did add that in as a target entity.
Yeah.
Well, I would think energy would be less job intensive potentially than a manufacturing option.
100%.
Well, you know, if you get a chance, go read the findings statement for Champlain Hudson, the Shippey Power Line. There's some big numbers.
1,400. They're planning on hiring 1,400.
In construction, right?
Just as construction.
Okay,
Yeah, construction.
temporary.
And that's true in a lot of the energy, whether even the battery storage facility, even the solar, you know, that they're upfront sorts of things.
Sitting where we sit today, and that's last year, the railroad right away through here produced like $68,000 for the school district. The first year, their pilot's like $600,000 with the Champlain Hudson, and it doesn't require one help wanted sign or us to find one employee.
Right.
And so, talk about helping small businesses in a way. One of the problems we often get, and I've heard criticisms, is every time we bring a new company in, Ferguson tries to fill 127 people in one shot. Where do you think they're all coming from? 75 or 50 of them, or some number are coming out of the mom and pops.
Sure, you can't
Suddenly,
compete. You
So
can't
that-
compete with them.
It's just a
As a
mix,
small
so
business.
we try to do the
Yeah.
best that we can. And then the last thing I guess I'll add is, that just seems to still frustrate me all these years later, is that nobody understands that all of this stuff is largely just sort of opportunity driven. You know, we can sit here all day and say we want this, and that. And either A, if they're not looking to do that, you're not gonna get them. And if they're not looking to do it here, you're not gonna get them. So a lot of it's, you know, where are we, a rural county, low infrastructure, you know, we've got some hurdles. And
Yeah, I mean, as a former small business owner, my biggest issues for my employees were transportation and daycare and housing. And, you know, the people that I would get were ones where they could carpool with other people, and they had family that could take care of their kids. But most of my people worked for their car. So this is our mission, but the county would need a strategy around result. We have an opportunity, I think, for generating more employment here if we had different, you know, had infrastructure strategy. But
well, and even the housing, I can tell you, I've
Yeah.
sat in enough meetings with major national corporations that are, you know, doing site evaluations, and housing will come up usually in the top 10 questions. You know, what's the housing stock like? You know, they want to know about zoning, they want to know. Interestingly, for all the people who are anti-zoning, is they think it prohibits business. All the people that want to spend real money on investment business, they don't even want to talk to you if there's any zoning. That's, you know, but housing, it surprised me initially, but not now, that would come up repeatedly. What's the housing stock like?
And it's a national conversation.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we just don't have any, my, you know, anecdotal experiences, we just don't have the rental.
Yeah, and in a county like this, and it's no different, like all of the counties in the Hudson Valley, when you pulled rentals out of the market through VRBO and Airbnb and all sorts of things like that, you know, you're weighing pros and cons. I mean, I'm sort of surprised the county hasn't figured out a way to do a bed tax. You know, the authorizing of an Airbnb or a VRBO, all of which is fine, right, as a business model, you have pulled out affordable housing options for people. Even if they're not affordable, you've pulled rental options totally out of the market.
Yeah.
I talked about the hot tax in the legislature until I was blue in the face.
Right.
How many years, for years?
You know, I just want to stuck my head right through the wall there.
Yep.
And and who looks at the hotel occupancy tax when they're booking a room? No.
You look at
Because
the
it's
final total.
everywhere, you just know you're gonna get hit with something.
Give you an example, when we were looking with Branch, in order to make the numbers work. And I can tell you, with this new hotel, this is probably gonna be part of the deal again. To make it work, they needed to basically pay for land over time. And so what we said to them is just said, look, there's no hot tax. How do you feel about throwing 4% on top of the rooms? And then that 4% will call it a development fee or something, and you would just pay it back to the IDA. They didn't blink, no problem. In fact, we said to me, he goes, let's make it 5 and I'll keep 1% for advertising. I said, yeah, you 1%, have more money you make for all of us. And likely it'll probably be somehow part of this deal with these guys, because we want to get a good price for the property, but we don't want to blow them out. We don't want to blow the deal up front.
I want to give an opportunity.
And so we already, April can tell you, I brought it up to the Patels. They didn't even blink. Absolutely, no problem. See, which is right to your point. Nobody pays attention.
So April, overall, that you feel the meeting went well with the county, the
I
presentation?
think so.
based
I
on
think
your
I've
feedback?
won some over. I had some fans anyway. The questions weren't that bad. I think there was some confusion. The same legislator asked me why I was giving benefits to a private person.
Oh, boy.
And I blanked because I didn't understand what he was asking, but I think it came down to all of our companies that we give benefits to are privately owned. And that answered that question for him. There was, why are we doing hotels? And we tied it into tourism, places to stay.
That someone would even go
Yeah.
there.
So I think I answered all the questions. I gave my email. I responded to emails. So if there are future questions, I will let the board know. But
Great.
that-
Yeah,
that
it
was-
looked good. I looked over your presentation. It looked great. I thought it looked great. And I think it's, bullet points and informational. It was very good.
Sherry True, the Caro legislator, was in yesterday, and she said I inundated them. I gave them everything. So.
Good. That's the way.
Oh,
to
and I
do it.
did mention our website numerous times for finding statements for any legislators that haven't read the finding statements. I pointed out all the data is on the website. So I'll segue into the next and final update. The ABO did review our website. Over the years, Renee and I have taken great pride in updating our website and being very transparent. So there were a couple things that I had to update. One is I didn't post anything on committees. We have our committee list on there, but no minutes, no packets, no agendas, but we have not had separate committee meetings. So I guess I have to review the committees, and I did post a tab stating that we haven't had any separate committees, but the ABO replied that committee meetings need to be separate, distinct. So when we do present the audit to the audit committee, I have to do it separately. So in March, we'll probably have 2 meetings. But I'll send out the best practices on committees. Then they reviewed my response of all the other little updates that I did. I linked all of our LinkedIn bios because they needed background and everything on staff and board members. But the final thing was, we haven't done an investment audit separate from our annual audit. And our auditors replied to me that we do not have any investments. So I posted that on my report. But the ABO came back. Yes, I do an annual investment report stating what our bank balances are, the interest, and that we don't have any investments. But because we have bank accounts and that interest that comes in, we now have to do a separate investment audit. So BST has presented a quick email, but they'll send me a formal proposal. It's $1,000 to do a separate investment per year, investment audit. And I think that'll satisfy my last ABO requirement for now. But it's separate. And we do have collateralization statements that come in from M&T Bank saying all our bank accounts are collateralized. So it'll be probably a simple 1-page investment audit, nothing too in-depth. So that's it on the ABO for now.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. well,
They make it easy. Yeah.
Yeah, why don't we just send them our bank balance?
Well, I do.
That's just ridiculous.
That's part of the investment report, which gets posted to the website every year. So if you take a look at our website, there's maybe 10 or 12 documents that I prepare every year for the audit.
So last year on like 4.5 million roughly in the bank somewhere in there, we made like $4,300 in interest all in, and that's our investment income. So we need a policy.
So I sent the investment
Report back to the
policy, the report, and then the statement from the ABO to BST. So they'll know what they have to send me.
Is it an issue because we're above the FDIC guarantee? Like,
No, no.
It's just,
Just another hoop.
okay.
Maybe what we should do is at some point, April, when you're talking with the guy who heads up the Economic Development Council, there should be some modification in law made that investment income or interest income below a certain threshold does not trigger, an investment audit. Something, it's sort of like your income tax returns, right? Like there's a certain amount that you can put on that one line, but if you're over, you have to have the whole detailed schedule sort of thing, so.
Or just that if it's a checking account.
That would be a rational common sense.
That would be right.
You won't see that. I'm sorry.
so, this could be partially my fault. I followed a template that the ABO sent me. That's why I list the bank accounts on there with the interest under investment, but it follows along our policy and disclosures. So
But it's all interest income, correct?
it is, it's just
That's all
interest
it
income.
is.
We don't have,
Well, you should ask
I consider
BSK
that.
about that. If the template, if there is a different place that interest should have been reported.
well, it's definitely reported within our annual audit, all of our.
Right, but on the
bank
ABO template,
template.
go
Okay.
back and look, because it's not like it's a mutual fund or it's in a money market fund, right? Or
Right.
something like that. So that's investment that has risk. That's
Right.
just a straight interest payment.
That's why I wondered if you
Yeah.
have to divide it up over multiple banks or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, we are.
We do. Well, we have two banks, Bank of Greene County and National Bank of Coxsackie, where I have a couple accounts. But I'll follow up with BST next week and figure it all out. But as the ABO does give us new requirements, we have conformed.
That's a stupid question. What does ABO stand
I'm sorry, Authority Budget Office. So they fall under the comptroller and they're like our oversight authority budget office. They're the ones that put out the Paris, which is, I'm not gonna be able to remember.
They're the oversight of IDAs.
Yeah.
And other
It's a
public
state.
authorities. The
Okay.
state created the authorities budget office
Okay.
after lots of different reports out there on the gazillion of public authorities, water authority, all.
Right.
And that nobody knew was cemetery authorities, you name it, there were all sorts of things out there and so the state came in at some point, created an infrastructure, a legal infrastructure, so they set the reporting guidelines, they have the audit authority and all of that to come into anybody, and they set a whole bunch of compliance standards that everybody has to do from a reporting point of view.
Okay.
So it started about 2006, then they updated it in 2009. So as they have new policies that come out, I get zinged. They send them on over, so we just update.
Yeah, we're usually really good on this. We're already, most 99% of it, we're already.
No, the letter from the ABO said we are posting most of our required documents, and then they just highlighted a few that I should update, so we did.
Have to find something.
Yep.
Okay.
We need to put more typos in.
Give
Oh,
them an easy one.
Keep it right.
does anybody have any other questions for us? Okay, go ahead, Eric, we can close the meeting.
Okay, I need a motion to close the meeting.
So moved.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, everybody. So Renee, maybe next week, if you're available.
When are you back?
I'm back Sunday night.
Okay,